Well, greetings again. This is Robert Schein, Managing Director and Partner with Blanke Schein Wealth Management. Today I want to do a daily run through of sort of headlines, interesting research, things that we're keeping on top of, the Blanke Schein Wealth Management Investment Committee as it relates to our client portfolios as we navigate through this process. And most importantly, thank you for, again, our clients, friends, and family. I trust that everyone's staying healthy and safe. And again, we're just here for you if you need anything. So thanks for watching. So let's talk about reopening the economy. As we've seen, we have a lot of the public and private sectors working together to hand in hand in sort of a unified fashion where we see private companies and public companies step up. And from the pharmaceuticals to the manufacturers of factories across the United States that once produced cars are now producing masks or ventilators. It's been a true sort of surge and unifying effect of American ingenuity and Americans at heart when in times of need. And that I think is the shining light here that I want to say and focus on. And the heart of that would be the healthcare workers. So, thoughts and prayers for everybody who's doing what they're doing to basically be ahead of this. And I really believe that regardless of the headlines, there have been some unbelievable medical breakthroughs, unbelievable working together, and just unification on the healthcare side, as well as all the fiscal and monetary policy sort of to stabilize markets. So it's all a net positive. What I seem to, what we see to be teasing out in the headlines right now, it sort of happened in yesterday afternoon's press conference with President Trump when they asked him if he has total authority to open up the government. And he basically said he has total authority, and we're going to see that in the headlines, probably a million times over. And constitutionally, I don't think he has that authority over the states, but, I'm not a scholar, so I'll just leave that to those that are. But realistically, what he's trying to send the message is that we need to reopen, and, he's going to help make that call with a team of, hopefully the best and brightest. The take home of that is, and what we're seeing in our morning research is, that it's interestingly enough that reopening the economy is political, ? Yeah, so if you think about it, we have 10 states, and the media won't specifically point this out to you, but everything that we have in our journals that is pointing out that the 10 states that have banded together are all Democrat or blue states, Democratic governors, and they have the ultimate authority of their respective states. But they sort of created an East Coast and West Coast unified coalition. They haven't said this specifically publicly, but if you see how this is playing out and you sort of read between the lines and look at the headlines, there's a 10-state coalition that's working together about how they're going to have a coordinated effort to reopen. Now, politics aside, because we really need just to put politics aside, but keep in mind, this is an election cycle. So don't kid yourself that this isn't going to continue to persist. But we do need a coordinated effort. We do need states, because commerce is all about, and travel and leisure and everything else is all about jumping on an airplane or going from one state to another. So that's, also a very smart and prudent move, and they need to continue to do that. I just wish that the political aspect would just, for once, just relax and work together. So let's hope that's ultimately the case here. And, only time will tell to see how it plays out. And as we mentioned sort of day before, as we're looking at the S&P 500, there's a lot of constructive, positive sort of trading range that's being established. Again, I said the 2800 to the 2900 on the top side for the S&P 500 from a range standpoint, to the 2450 to 2500 on the bottom range. So think about it this way: there's a band that's being created in how markets trade. Specifically, we're watching the S&P 500, and we will see the markets in the next few weeks and months to come bounce between those two sort of guardrails. And that's just creating consolidation where we are. Markets sort of hide out as we go into the quarterly earnings cycle, and we get future guidance from corporations, and ultimately the economic data that's going to come out is going to paint sort of obviously the bleak picture, but more of a picture of data dependent information that we have, that then we can start constructively saying, okay, does the S&P break up or break out for, from that high range of 2900? If so, do we see 3,000? And then work our way from there. So that's all positive. As we see markets sort of, the volatility is still going to be there. We have swings of 2 to 3 to 4% per day. That's going to persist. So just keep your eye on the trading range for the S&P 500 as we are. And the last point I wanted to address today, or just touching base on checking in some of the key elements that we're keeping an eye on. One, copper. While copper is off of its lows, which is a positive, the trend is still down. So we're going to keep an eye on copper and see if we can still make some, higher highs and break that trend. But long term, the trend for copper is down, which is not a positive for the markets in the short term. And then finally, the high yield spreads that they've come in, meaning they're not so higher over treasuries. We watch the spreads between the difference between the high yield market and where the treasury market is. That's an indication of credit, or i.e. the health of the economy. As those spreads tighten or get closer together, it's a positive side for the economy and for the markets itself, so meaning that there's enough liquidity and that there is a way to work through this. So that's a positive on the high yields. We'll continue to keep an eye on those spreads as they continue to give us an indication what direction this economy is going. So far, so good.